All right, what's going on, everyone? Wasn't expecting to be back on tonight. Some of you guys that were here earlier during my live coverage of the fight might have heard some of the things that I'm gonna say in this video here. Okay, I covered a fight earlier between Conor Benn and Adrian Granados, and if you don't know, Conor Benn won the fight unanimously, and it was a pretty wide decision. You know, I remember only scoring one round. I think that tops Granados might have won 2 rounds. All right, but while I was doing the commentary, and even after I did the commentary, and I started to go on social media and read and see what people were saying about Conor Benn's performance, a lot of people weren't impressed. Okay, which is very understandable. I think a lot of us believe. I know I definitely believe that he was going to stop Granados, and I figured he would stop him earlier. You know, than what he. Well, I didn't even think it was going to go to the decision, but I figured he would stop Granados, but probably not as early as Samuel Vargas, right? So, you know, that was my prediction of the fight. We didn't get that. I don't think the fight was really that competitive. I think Granados had his moments in the fight, but for the most part, I think Granados was being very evasive in the fight. All right, he was doing a lot of lateral movement on a level that we've never seen him do before. And you know, after or not even after the fight, but maybe just a few minutes ago, you know, I was just on YouTube and I was looking up Granados' fights that I'm familiar with. You know, I remember seeing the Amir Imam fight. I remember seeing the Sean Porter fight. I remember seeing the Danny Garcia fight. Robert Easter. You know, there's other fights. I didn't watch them all, but I just kind of skimmed through Granados because I wanted to just confirm that Granados doesn't normally fight this way. Okay, I remember when Conor Benn won the fight, and he was, you know, he was doing an interview with his coach, and they was pretty much surprised as the way that Granados fight or fought this night. Normally, he's more willing to engage, and the Granados that I know is more willing to engage. You know, and I had to go back and confirm. You know, watching some of the Sean Porter fights, some of the Danny Garcia fight. So, from what I saw, and that's just a real quick skim, when I saw him fight Sean Porter, I saw that Granados had his little moments where he was moving. But the thing with Sean Porter is Sean Porter is very quick on his feet. All right, he's much better at cutting off the ring. I mean, he's a much far more experienced fighter, and he's very quick. He quick hands. He's a quick fighter, you know. And the thing is, he's willing to throw more punches in those combinations. One thing with Conor Benn in this fight tonight against Granados, it was just 1-2, 1-2, and Granados did a good job just moving laterally and being defensive. You know, we showed good upper body movement, good head, good head movement. He was slipping shots. He was rolling the punches well. You know, he was turning the punches well. And he was just slipping and stepping around Conor Benn's right hands one after another. He did a very good job of it. The only thing is he didn't really do anything in response to that. Okay. And this is, you know, I said recently in the Guillermo Rigondeaux fight against Casemiro, the reason why I was disappointed in Guillermo Rigondeaux, I know he was displaying good defense. He was making his opponent miss throughout the entire fight. But I want to be able to make him pay, all right? Make him miss, but counter, you know, expose him, but also punish him. I've seen Guillermo Rigondeaux do it at a very high level for years. So for me to see him just move that way and not do anything in response, which I wouldn't say Granados did on that level of that fight on that night. Granados didn't do that, but there were moments where he was just moving and not throwing anything at all, you know? And he's just trying to survive. And I think as the fight went on, because he was still in the fight, I think it was always his plan in that tonight to just survive and go to 12. He wasn't trying to win the fight. He was more just trying to survive and show people that, like, yo, I'm not going to let this young, undefeated prospect come in and just knock me out. I'm not going to let that happen. He's lost to other fighters like a Porter. He's lost to fighters like Garcia. He lost to those guys, but he wasn't willing to let it happen against Conor Benn. And that's exactly what he did. He avoided Conor Benn. He avoided, it was points in the fights. Yes, he let his hands go, and yes, he did land some shots here and there, but he didn't land anything with any bad intentions. It wasn't like the Amir Imam fight where, all right, yes, he took punishment early in the fight, but then he just totally destroyed Amir Imam at some point in that fight. So this fight was the fight that made Conor Benn look kind of bad, because you can tell that him and his camp wasn't expecting this. I was kind of expecting a guy to be willing to engage with Conor Benn, and Conor Benn getting the better of him like he did against Samuel Vargas. I wasn't expecting the guy to move as much as he did tonight. This was like fighting Lara when Canelo fought him. Canelo and Lara, it was like that, where yes, Lara is known to move that much. He has moved that much throughout his career. There are fights in his younger years that the video is not about Lara. I want to stay on track, but basically, Conor Benn didn't know how to adjust to Granados' movement, and he just kept chasing, and it kind of makes you look bad because you're missing a lot. You're not setting up the shots well. You're hitting air a lot. A lot of shots are getting blocked. A lot of shots are getting slipped, and it just looks bad. Yes, you're winning. Yes, you're the aggressor. Yes, you're still landing more punches, but they're not as effective as we've seen in previous fights. So I think Conor Benn is still good. I think he's one of the top young fighters coming up, and I really like him. I don't think the word expose is the proper word to define what we saw tonight. I don't think he got exposed. I think he just fought a fighter that made him look a bit more limited because of the way that they were fighting. And I think, to be honest, I think if you put most fighters in a situation like this one, where a fighter is just completely trying to avoid you, it's hard to really change the outcome. Sean Porter is different. Sean Porter is a guy that is used to fighting and hunting people down. That's what he does. He's used to being a hunter. He's not as good when he's being the hunted. But when he's the hunter, he is good at tracking guys that move. A lot of guys did not want to engage Sean Porter, so they moved a lot. But Sean, being that he has very quick feet, he was able to keep up with these guys, cut off the ring, and put pressure on them and throw more combinations. You're not going to just slip my right hand. I'm going to follow it up with a left to the body, another right up top. He's going to throw those combinations as you're trying to avoid him. So I think Conor Benn is just not on that level. You got to remember, guys, he is 24 years old. Okay. His last three fights were his best opponents: Formella, Vargas, and now Adrian Granados. These are his three fights that were step up fights for him. And he's still learning. So yes, he's very good. He's very explosive. I think he boxes well. He has good power, good speed. But there's still a lot of things he got to learn. And I think for people to be too critical, there's nothing wrong with being critical. This is what we're supposed to do. As I'm breaking down the fight, as I'm, talking about it and covering it live, I'm telling you the problems that he's making and the mistakes he's making in this fight. But these are the fights that make you get better. And this is experience that now when you fight a fighter that is going to move this much, you have to be ready to, to adjust to that style. Everyone has been there with a guy that was completely, I wouldn't say Granados was completely running, but he was at certain points of this fight. All right. So I still like him. I still think his name should be up there for the top process when we're talking Virgil Ortiz. Yes, Virgil's a little ahead of him. I even think Gerard Ennis is a little ahead of him, not just because of who they beat, but also because of what I've seen them be able to do in the ring. I think they're a little bit ahead of what I've seen from Conor, but I think Conor is right there, and I think he can fight the guys that they fought, or be pretty close to beating, fighting the guys that they fought as well. I named some guys here. I put some guys here. I think some guys are at his level or a little bit dangerous. Some of the guys here are guys that I think he can definitely beat, and it'll be a good step in the right direction. And some of the guys here are a little above that, and guys that I think, like, listen, if they're that confident in his talent and his ability, they would put himself in some sort of danger without actually fighting the super elite. There's no one here on the super elite level that's on this list, but there are fighters that are undefeated, or maybe have one loss, or maybe that's at the same level, or that are still relevant. All of these guys are pretty much still relevant for the most part. All right. So this list, I added Alexander Vesputin, who would be a dangerous fight, a risky fight. Okay. But that's a fight that, listen, if you want to prove you're really good, that's a step up. Alexis Rocha, another guy where it's a little risky, but if you're as good as a lot of us believe you are, you should be able to win that one. Rashidi Ellis is super risky, who might actually be better, and it's a guy that I feel is what, I don't know where he's going with his career, because he doesn't fight more, often, and he's been in the game a little longer than some of these other prospects and undefeated guys, but I think he's moving a lot slower. But that's a good name, that would be a great win, and that would be a very dangerous fight if they want to take it there. I don't think they would, but I'm gonna throw his name in there anyway. Sergey Lipinets is another fighter. I know he recently lost to Jaron Ennis. Okay, he lost to Ennis, but he is a former champion at 140. Yes, he had a loss with Mikey, but he gave Mikey a tough fight. Ennis pretty much destroyed him. But it would still be a great test for a guy like Conor Benn. All right. Castillo Clayton is another fighter who had a draw with Sergey Lipinets, and it'll be another risky fight. I believe Castillo is still undefeated. Okay. Risky fight. Hasn't been in there with the not many of the top guys yet, but still a good fight, a good test, and a risky one at that. You have Adrian Broner. A lot of people were saying Broner in the comments. I don't think the fight would happen, because of, the business and the politics of the sport and him being a PBC fighter. I think they would use Broner for somebody else on their end. But if you never know, maybe if Matchroom was able to throw a certain amount of cash over there, a great offer, maybe Broner would take it. I don't know. I don't have no idea. Josecito Lopez, he's been in there with many fighters at this point. He's had some big wins. He's had some big losses. But it's still a name, and it's a step up from the guys. If you want to slowly step up from fighting Vargas and Famila and Granados, I would say fight Josecito Lopez. He's a tough dude. He has power, and if you sleep on him, he can catch you. We've seen it. Maurice Hooker. I know he's lost at 140. I know he's lost at 147 against Virgil Ortiz with the injury with his hand, but he did get dropped. He did get hurt. He was losing a fight, but he's still young. He's still he's still relevant. That would be a good win. That's a good name. That's a good test, and that's somebody that's risky. It's a risky fight, and if you're not on your A game, or if he's not that good, he would get exposed. He could possibly lose that fight. All right, so it's another good name. And the last that I have on this list is Omar Figueroa Jr., who, lost to Ramos. He lost to Ugas, but still a step up in competition, And I think if you're going to fight someone that's rugged, that's going to bring, you don't have to worry about him fighting like Adrian Granados. This guy's going to bring the fight to you. How are you going to deal with a guy that's pretty much durable? Well, he's probably lost some of that durability, because Ugas was able to hurt him. Ramos was able to stop him. All right. But overall, has a reputation of taking punches well. you know. So, and he's a great pressure fighter. So, that these are all good tests in my opinion. You know, I'm sure you guys can name some more in the comments. But you know, Conor Benn, as for now, I think he's legit. I don't think this fight really exposes him. I think this fight just made him realize that, yo, you got to learn to adjust when a fighter is coming and at you, or maybe you didn't prepare for the fighter that you fought. You know, you prepare for a fighter that you've seen in other fights. And sometimes you got to do the mid-fight adjustments. You got to create those. You got to be prepared for everything. Don't just prepare for that specific opponent. You have to be prepared for every little thing, because you never know. We never seen this side of Granados. At least I never seen it. I mean, based on his coach, they seem to be a bit surprised with the way that Granados was fighting. So, but I think at the end of the day, expose is used when you're fighting someone and the guy beats you up, you know. And I don't think that happened today. You know, Granados just avoided him for the most part. You know, there was moments where it was good. We got some decent rounds, but for the most part, Granados avoided him. All right. He didn't want to engage with him. So I think Conor will continue to get better. I just think that, you know, maybe some of these guys are good options. Others could be good options that I didn't name. But I overall like what I see from him, and I think he has a shot. You know, I don't think he's better than Ortiz or Ennis. I don't think he's better than those two. But I think that is somebody that we can definitely, you know, continue to look out for. And at some point, you know, maybe he could become world champion, you know. Maybe he can keep improving, you know. But I like what I see from him, especially at 24. I like what I see. All right. So anyway, those are my thoughts on him. Let me know what you think on the comments. Make sure you guys subscribe, smash that like button as well. And I'll see you in the next one. I'm done for tonight, man. That's the last video for tonight. I'm out. Peace.